What up, Neil? What's going on, y'all? We about to do another reading. If y'all didn't tap in a couple days ago, we about to get this going again. We are gonna do. We're gonna read a couple chapters from the book, "The Miseducation of the Negro" by Carter G. Woodson. If y'all did not know, Carter G. Woodson is the originator of Black History Month. So, in his honor, we found it only right that we go through some of this text and really see what he had to say. What up, Jenna? What's good, y'all? Thanks for coming in.
All right, so I guess quick recap. What's up, Bossy?
What up, Boston?
Quick recap. We did the preface and intro chapter 1 last time. You kind of want to start off with anything that first stood out to you, and then we'll start getting into chapter 2.
Shoot, from that first chapter, there was a couple things, man. Specifically, you know, just a large thing I got from that chapter was like just how education really puts you at a lesser position. Like once you became educated, you really you're really out of that rebellious, mindset. They kind of take you out of that.
Right.
That really stood out to me the most in that first chapter.
Yeah. I love that he just pointed out that it seemed like the more highly educated people seem to, despise the people that weren't educated or weren't really in those same circles with them anymore. So that was actually a really good point because I was like, we still see that today. So,
Yeah.
like in the first,
Open to anybody else. The question we kind of left off with last time, like, how would you truly define an educated Black woman or man? You know what I mean? What is the definition of a highly educated African woman or man?
yeah. So, shoot, I would like if Obasi's still on, I'd like him to type that up. I would like to hear what his response to that would be.
That
You never answered though. Like, what do you think? Because again, I'm still thinking like only examples come close.
Yeah.
Nobody's there, so I don't necessarily.
I didn't answer last time.
Nah,
Man.
I peeped it after when I watched the playback. I was like, dang, this man didn't even answer.
I didn't answer my own question, man. And I felt like I had an answer last time too in my head.
Uh-huh.
You know, I would say that someone who is centered in their Africanness, their African identity, somebody that knows the true situation that they are in as an African, someone who understands what it takes to go forward, someone who is centered in truth.
Right. What's up, fam?
I think those are some of the things. What up, Divine? How you doing? Lights, camera, joy. Steve on the track was good, y'all. So Don Pierre was hand. All right. So once again, for everybody that just came in here, we're reading The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. We read the preface, the intro, and chapter 1. So we're gonna start at chapter 2.
One thing I would personally say though that really gets me though is the fact that like he's like, you don't, when you control a man's thinking, you don't even have to worry about what his actions are.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing, because I think we was chopping it up with Obasi about this as well. But like certain groups that we feel is, or let the majority can be confused into believing are like actually doing something that's really empowering us, right? But then in reality, they really just playing into the game. Like they just a pawn in the whole thing, really actually keeping the wheels moving in reality. Like, yeah, you got some things that are positive, you awaken some minds and whatnot. And you got some folks, making moves. But in reality, the reason why, if you listen to anybody revolutionary, like really revolutionary at heart, they tell you like, yo, if your oppressor is congratulating you, so like Black Lives Matter recently getting that Nobel Peace Prize, like that nomination for them. Shout out to them in some sort of way right there. Or if your oppressor is not doing anything against you, then you should be kind of worried, like that you're not really doing anything. Like you haven't really made any moves. No, like yeah, I like that Divine said, change the mind, change the person. Correct. It's all in the mind. It's like where is that group taking you, or where is that going? Like, if you haven't really done anything, because I'm just gonna pick on Black Lives Matter just for now. I'm not gonna go to the other groups just yet. But like they had everybody. They had the entire world's eyes looking at them. They getting a Nobel Peace Prize a nomination to them, but we still haven't got anything tangible. Like I'm to the point where all I can do is laugh at this now, because we really started, and I say we as in like all of us. I ain't saying I celebrated, but we as a people started celebrating. And there is certain things happening, but what exactly has been tangible that Black Lives Matter, the actual organization, not the movement, but the organization, what is tangible that has been gotten from their organization and their quote unquote leadership and whatnot. So like you even have chapters within them that don't even, they're like, yo, y'all didn't have any communication with us. Y'all didn't really tell us what was going on with the funds and everything. Like it was, we didn't even want this person. Y'all didn't have any democracy about this or something like that, right? In their letter, their formal letter. But then next thing you know, they starting to break off.
It's
So
seems
say
like
it one more time. My bad.
it's disorganized.
I think it's organized. I just think it's like not in a way that's really, like, I guess the way that those chapters and the way people kind of thought that they were, maybe. Like many people didn't even know Soros funded them.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just saying, just using them as an example to piggyback off of. So like he said,
And I,
always be cautious of the organization. You gotta be. You gotta question these organizations that come out here and say they're doing something good. Because again, like Kwame Ture says it, so many revolutionaries say it. Like my oppressor is not really worried or threatened by my presence. And like, what exactly? Like I'm nothing. I haven't done. I'm really not working there. So
it reminded me of that Huey. What you're saying reminded me of that Huey P. Newton quote I posted on my story chat. I don't know if y'all saw that, but where he was like, "Anytime you try to change the slave condition, like white people gonna feel some type of way. So if white people not feeling no type of way with you, you ain't really
exactly,
doing it.
exactly.
But you want to get into it.
Yeah. My bad. It's just
No,
that
you
that
good.
one quote made me think of that. All of that. That one quote made me think of all that. So that's how he dropped so much in his book. But you want me to first start it off this time, or you want it?
Uh, Shoot. Yeah, go ahead, man.
All right. So again, to anybody that just now hopped on, we got it pinned right there as well in the comments. But we're reading "The Miseducation of the Negro" by the father of Black History Month, Carter Godwin Woodson, Carter G. Woodson. As we discussed last time, he was the second Black person to actually graduate from Harvard. And like I was talking to somebody earlier, but just saying in the sense of like, if the second Black person that graduated from Harvard behind Du Bois sat there and meditated and was like, dang, I was miseducated. And like, what exactly have we really been getting out here? And that's why like this book is so powerful for it to be written in 1933. So, anything you want to add to that? My bad.
Oh no, I just seen her. So if y'all didn't know, the first person to graduate was W. Du Bois, and he said, it, I saw a quote from Du Bois today. He said, "If you thought the honor, like if I was honored to graduate from Harvard, you were mistaken." He said it was Harvard that was honored to have me. I was like, "That's
Exactly.
powerful. That's powerful."
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to realize, like, again, we are the capital. Like, we make the moves. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's shown throughout history. So, all right, you ready, bro? All
Yeah, man. How we missed the mark.
right, chapter 2. So, how we have arrived at the present state of affairs can be understood only by studying the forces effective in the development of Negro education, since it was systematically undertaken immediately after emancipation. To point out merely the defects as they appear today will be of little benefit to the present and future generations. These things must be viewed in their historic setting. The conditions of today have been determined by what has taken place in the past. Remember Sankofa, like we're gonna constantly mention that Sankofa. And in a careful study of this history, we may see more clearly the great theater of events in which the Negro has played a part. We may understand better what his role has been and how well he has functioned in it. The idea of educating the Negroes after the Civil War was largely a prompting of philanthropy. Their white neighbors failed to assume this responsibility. These black people had been liberated as a result of sectional conflict out of which their former owners had emerged as victims. From this class, then, the freedom could not expect much sympathy or cooperation in the effort to prepare themselves to figure as citizens of a modern republic. From, from functionaries of the United States government itself, and from and those who participated in the conquest of the secessionists, early came the plan of teaching these freedmen the simple duties of life as worked out by the Freedmen's Bureau and philanthropic agencies. When systemized, this effort became a program for the organization of churches and schools and the direction of them along lines which have been considered most conducive to the progress of people otherwise circumstanced. I kind of want to stop right there just to mention the part about the churches, where it says, let's see, from organization of churches and schools, the direction. So yeah, like I think people kind of miss the importance of churches nowadays and kind of miss the fact that it was like a communal thing to actually come together with people and not necessarily just for the religious purpose. So not necessarily pushing anything religion right here, just mentioning the fact of like how it was kind of a place where you also ran business. Like it wasn't necessarily just let me pull up praise and then get my blessings and then dip. Like you actually came, you were communal, like you organized around this, like you actually had made moves in this area because like this was a place you knew everybody was coming to. So like I kind of feel as though we've kind of drifted away from that. Well, not even kind of feel that way, but have drifted away from that. And the churches have become more of the business itself. Definitely. Than being the conductor of other, or being the place where other people could come in and thrive with their businesses and whatnot. So,
and especially, you know, the role of the churches during the civil rights movement. I feel like most people know that, especially with Martin Luther King being at the head. But the church was a huge place for organization. It was a place where black people would go and be comfortable and organize in a manner in which they really couldn't do in too many other spaces. It was a safe space for black people. And, you know, we talk about how we can use our spirituality to organize. And I would say that that's one thing that they did do right within that civil rights movement. Around the church, they were able to organize people around, you know, an institution of spirituality, which they were able to use that energy to their liberation. So the church was powerful. Does it still have that same essence?
That's a good question, man. Like I like what Young Steven said, where he says the black church played a huge role back then. And now they shy away from the social issues. So like we definitely see that. Like you'll see somebody try to co-opt and have photo ops during the social issues, but it's not the same.
Word. Hey, bro, my comment's not loading, so I'm gonna come out and come back in. Just invite me back up.
All right, bet. So hopefully y'all still on here. Anyways, but what do y'all think for y'all that's on live, right? Do y'all still think that the church plays the same role? Like, has it actually still is it still impactful in the same way? Like, drop some comments if you do or you don't. I'm trying to keep this interacting. Let me see. All right, here we go. He's connecting now. There we go.
Cool.
All
You
right.
want to keep going?
Hopefully some people type some answer. I want to see what other people's answer are. Like, what's up, CJ? Yeah, we just reading the miseducation of the Negro, and we just posed the question. Like, we talked about, like, does the church still have the same impact or play the same role that it used to? Pray about it. I feel like, yo, me and y'all Steven on the same page. like y'all, like, what did Frederick Douglass got a famous quote where he's sitting there saying, like, I'm gonna paraphrase the mess out of this, but he was like, yo, all these years I've been praying and I didn't get freedom until I started praying with my legs, like with my feet, you know. So like that basically telling you, like, we can't just pray up on some freedom, and like Malcolm said, you can't sing up on some freedom. It's
Not
time
saying that you shouldn't pray either, but your
to
actions got to match your prayers. You know what I'm saying?
facts.
They got to go hand in hand.
Oh, true. Time out. I'm paused. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to all y'all that just joined, because I forgot, bro. Yeah, we said we was gonna start doing things with more intent.
Oh
And
yeah.
so for y'all that was reading, like, please stay where we were, and I'm gonna keep my noggin on where we was, but just to keep this, or to stay true to what we said to ourselves and whatnot. We gonna start this off by first thanking the Creator, the universe, the Most High, the Almighty, the Source, the energy, whatever you would
You
like
may
to call.
subscribe to. Yeah.
Yeah, whoever you look to. First, we'd like to thank that, because we wouldn't be here without that. Um, and then we'd like to thank some of our master teachers. That the people that I personally call messiahs, because I know my mental would be so lost if it wasn't for them. Um, who you got? Who you want to start off with, bro?
We're calling out teachers.
Yeah, just a few. There's so
Shoot.
many,
For
and
me,
not leaving the people that we don't, the ones that we miss. Not saying they're not as important, but
yeah.
blame it on my mind, not my heart. Get that straight, right?
Yeah, for me, a big one, man, is Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark. That I
Yeah,
feel like, I
good.
always got to say those names. I always got to say those names. If you don't know those names, go to YouTube, go to Google,
Please.
type in Dr. Ben Yosef, uh, Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, and type in Dr. John Henrik Clark. But also, man, a master teacher that has a lot of controversy about his name, but really got me into this type of thinking, or thinking for myself, is Dr. Sebi, man. So I gotta shout his name out there for sure.
All right, you got three. I'll say El Haj, Malik Al Shabazz, Malcolm X,
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Garvey. Cause I
Mm-hmm.
know without Garvey there would have been no X. Um, let's see. Last one. There's so many, but I was listening to Amos Wilson earlier, so I'm gonna say Amos Wilson. Dang, let me hold on. I feel like we should. Is there somebody spiritual? Let me think of someone spiritual.
Malidoma Soulmate, man.
Facts, right there. So for any of y'all that's still watching, if you caught any of those names, whether it's revolutionary work, historic work, or please check out Malidoma Soulmate's work. So with the spiritual work, like, those are some people that, if it wasn't for them, like, we definitely wouldn't be talking about anything conscious.
Not at all. I won't be here in this mindset.
None of us would. I feel like just in this presence now, because without Garvey, you don't know X, you have no NOI, the way people, you have nothing at all for some people, even though depending on where you woke up at in your journey or whatever. All right, you just not typed them in there.
Yeah.
All right, bet. So left off at circumstance. Here in oh dang, my bad. Thanks to our blood ancestors as well. I'm gonna just real short and blame it on my head, not my heart. Here and there, some variation was made in this program in view of the fact that the status of the freedmen in no way paralleled that of their friends and teachers. But such thought was not general. When the Negroes in some way would learn to perform the duties which other elements of the population had prepared themselves to discharge, they would be duly qualified. It was believed to function as citizens of the country, inasmuch as most Negroes lived in the agricultural South, moreover, and only a few of them at first acquired small farms. There was little in their life which any one of them, my bad, which any one of the, I feel like you now, bro, like with the wording, bro. Dang.
Good, man. Just work through it, man.
No, you're right, you're right. Inasmuch as most Negroes lived in the agricultural South, moreover, and only a few of them at first acquired small farms, there was little in their life which anyone of thought could not have easily understood. The poverty which afflicted them for a generation after emancipation held them down to the lowest order of society, nominally free, but economically enslaved. The
So
participation, you want to
hold
stop
on,
right
hold on. Right there. I mean, we could just provide some context right there. So,
there? Okay.
after slavery, so slaves were not completely liberated from that system of working on a plantation, working on a farm, and really being reliant on these white people. So after slavery, a lot of free blacks went to sharecropping, where basically it was really the same system. Like the sharecroppers would rob the free black people from their resources. Like they would require a certain amount, and then they could get that amount. And since you're a black person who's not really educated, they could be like, "Oh yeah, this ain't really enough," or "Okay, yeah, this is worth this," and really just shortchange you out of whatever you deserved. But another thing that he said here that stood out to me, it was like you will learn to perform the duties of the population to be a citizen. And what did that really prepare you to be? Like a worker, you know what I mean? It didn't compare you to prepare you to do for yourself. So I thought that was pivotal.
But it also said other elements of the population had prepared themselves to discharge, meaning those folks were about to dip away from those jobs anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They were already like transitioning somewhere else. But yeah, we still are quote unquote nominally free.
Yeah, and we still economically enslaved, like lovely said. That's real.
All right, babe. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Y'all just check. You got it at the end.
Okay.
All right, babe. This is killing me this time. The participation of the freedmen in government for a few years during the period known as Reconstruction had little bearing on their situation except that they did join with the uneducated poor whites in bringing about certain much desired social reforms, especially in giving the South its first plan of democratic education and
Mm-hmm.
providing for a school system at public expense.
And a lot of people don't know that, bro. If it weren't for black
Right.
folks, it would not be public education, bro.
At all.
At all.
I see young Steven said prisons are nothing but modern day slavery. Facts. They put us in jail by way of a criminal justice system that was designed to keep us down. Exactly. This
Definitely.
is again like this same thing as Jim Crow, man.
It just changed shape and forms over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because after slavery, it was sharecropping, but also convict leasing. If you don't know what convict leasing is, you should go look up convict leasing, which is, essentially what they do in prisons now is turn into mass incarceration. So racism doesn't really go away. The institution just changed shapes and forms and methods of how they live out their racist ideologies.
Exactly. If y'all know the story of the folklore of John Henry, y'all may not know, like, again, and now we might be telling age though, because I'm on the cusp of where I barely remember that folklore. So if y'all don't know, John Henry was a railroad worker who like was like the top dog. Like he was faster than the machines that actually would make way for them to actually create the trains on the railroads and everything, right? So at some point, some person challenged John Henry or just put out this challenge for John Henry to actually, she said, never learned it, but we teach it in fifth. Okay. So John Henry sat there and raced an actual machine to see who could be the fastest to finish the job. And long story short, John Henry wins. But he worked so hard that he actually dies in the end. Like he just has a heart attack and dies. But the machine is still there. You know, like he's fine. So again, showing one thing from that is context, because the railroad worker, like John Henry, was during the time period of the convict leasing, of Jim Crow. So he was a railroad worker because he was a captive, enslaved in the prison system, and he was being convict leased to be a railroad worker, which was something that was common back then. So like that whole story isn't just a regular story. That's it's not just some folklore or anything. Like Disney actually made a whole little short film about it, but they don't put it in there that like
in that context.
Right. They don't, like the only reason he was in there was because they made up laws that end up having him thrown in there. You know,
Yeah,
so
or even how much money like the Rockefellers made from convict leasing, the startup day stuff. And during that point of time, there's a lot of um, white entrepreneurs that are supposedly self-made men, and they came up from nothing and to live the American dream, but their wealth is built off of black backs, like it's always been. So, are you really that self-made?
right. That's right, man. It be bothering me when people say they self-made.
All right, so you want me to pick up? I'll pick up right here.
Oh no. I was saying like that last paragraph. Like I was gonna stop at that one because it's only two. It's only two more pages.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So neither this inadequately supported school system nor the struggling higher institutions of a classical order established about the same time, however, connected the Negroes very closely with life as it was. These in situations were concerned rather with life as they hoped to make it. When the Negro found himself deprived of influence in politics, therefore, and at the same time unprepared to participate in the higher functions in the industrial development which this country began to, my bad, dang, my bad, I'm getting thrown off. Let me restart that sentence. These institutions were concerned rather with life as they hoped to make it. When the Negro found himself deprived of influence in politics, therefore, and at the same time, unprepared to participate in the higher functions in the industrial development which this country began to undergo, it soon became evident to him that he was losing ground in the basic things of life. He was spending his time studying about the things which had been or might be, but he was learning little to help him to do better the task at hand. Since the Negroes believed that the causes of this untoward condition lay without the race, migration was attempted, and immigration to Africa was again urged. At this psychological moment came the wave of industrial education which swept the country by storm. The educational authorities in the cities and states throughout the Black Belt began to change the course of study to make the training of the Negro conform to this policy. The missionary teachers from the North, in defense of their idea of more liberal training, however, fearlessly attacked this new educational policy, and the Negroes participated in the same dispute, arrayed themselves respectfully on one side or the other. For a generation thereafter, the quarrel as to whether the Negro should be given a classical or a practical education was the dominant topic in Negro schools and churches throughout the United States. Labor was the most important thing of life. It was argued. Practical education counted in reaching that end, and the Negro worker must be taught to solve this problem of efficiency before directing attention to other things.
You want to talk about this?
Definitely,
Because
cause
I'm gonna let you go.
All right, so one, you got this dilemma of, yo, we just now getting into jobs or careers or education that is in a transitional stage. We're coming in getting the old while they're about to industrialize themselves. Like we getting farming and everything while they're like, all right, so this is what's next. This machinery, you know, like you had Ford, you got all these industrial places in the north when you're in Detroit or whatever that you could actually see the future happening right there with you. Um, so one, he says you're losing grounds of basic things in life right there. Then at the same time, you have yourself kind of arguing against one another on what exactly is our next route.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So I just want to say that a lot of what he's talking about here, he's talking about that the debate between Booker T. Washington and W. E. Du Bois. So
exactly.
Booker T. Washington, um, he after slavery, he was pushing for people to have an industrial education and to be involved in, you know, learning how to produce for themselves, whereas W. E. B. Du Bois was saying that black people should have that, you know, that education where they, you know, learn classical or literature or all these different types of education. So after Reconstruction, that was a huge debate between the two. And that right there, that debate between those two brothers really showed it really marked for like how black people would go going forward, honestly. um
We still doing it.
yeah, we are still doing it.
Yeah. I think one part that really got me though is when he's saying like people are immigrating thinking like race ain't about to follow you.
Mm.
And then brought up Africa too, because we still bring that up today too. So
Yeah.
again, we're still rhyming with history here.
Yeah, and like I said last time, if you don't know about the American Colonization Society, there was a large organization that wanted to colonize free Africans or free blacks to back to Africa, to Liberia. So just interesting little things to look up.
Again, we read in the Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black History Month, and we're in the middle of chapter 2, How We Missed the Mark.
What up, Stavo? My guy.
He said Black History 101. All right, so apologies, y'all. Appreciate y'all bearing with me. I think that's pretty much it for me. Like, it's crazy though, just looking back at it, because it's kind of like if you, what exactly are we missing now, or what exactly are we catching now that is about to be over? What's next? Like I always like those people that are always talking about what's next, or like people is like, oh yeah, we ain't gonna have no money anymore. We're gonna go move to Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, yo, you don't need deal. You need to get in the tech field. Or like, listen, like just saying like, what's
Yeah.
like, what exactly is the next thing, or even is that thing that we think is next? Is that already the old thing?
Hmm. I don't know. You know, I from just thinking about Booker T. Washington and Stem and Stock. That's
Right.
real. But just thinking about Booker T. Washington and W.B. Du Bois, I think both of them had valid points, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to some extent. To some extent. But like that industrialization, like being able to produce for ourselves, I think is something that we're still lacking.
Yeah. John Henrik Clarke even says like, I think he said in one of his lectures, he was like, yo, y'all need to go back one more time and listen to what Booker T. Washington
So,
is.
some of the things Booker T said, I can't agree with everything Booker T
Not
said.
definitely not everything,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
sense of like he was basically setting it up where you could still be self-sustainable at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day. But at the same time, it's like, yo, you need to hit these books too, because you're gonna get played on that end too. So
Yep.
it kind of just goes in the part of like everybody has to play a role in this. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't just be working for yourself and just being by yourself, because like we need both. We need both. Like we see it now. Like what's the first thing that's gonna happen if something bad happens in the world? Like we're always gonna worry about food supply. Like, if you're not sustainable on that, like if Walmart done ran out of them toilet papers, like what you about to do? You know? But at the same time, when the stock market falls and you don't know anything about that, and although like you were the first stock, but I know we playing in it as well, like people playing in it, like, and you're not in the mindset of like stock education, then you miss out too. Because again, we see how capitalism's working. All the billionaires got richer during this time period. Like they didn't go broke. Like that market's crashing didn't affect them. So it's like you need everybody, all hands on deck at all time, focused on the mission. Because if not, we're gonna get caught asleep every turn, whether it's a crash in the market or whether it's Corona, and you worried about where's my toilet tissue. So like, yeah,
Nah, more importantly, where's your food?
yeah,
That's what people have to worry about.
water. But yeah,
Let's keep going.
oh,
You
that
want
was
me to go?
yeah. That was this only one more page, two more.
Okay. All right. So you finished that paragraph already?
Yeah.
All right. Unfortunately, however, the
Oh,
fair
not that one. My bad. No. I finished the one from the last page. So up at
No, you
others.
didn't. What you talking about?
That was it. Yours doesn't have the PDF. Doesn't have this one.
Okay. I thought you read that. My bad.
Oh no.
Other more narrow-minded than the advocates of an industrial education seized upon the idea, feeling that although the Negro must have some semblance of education, it would be a fine stroke to be able to make a distinction between the training given the Negro and that provided for the whites. Inasmuch as the industrial education idea rapidly gained ground, too, many Negroes for political purposes began to espouse it, and schools and colleges, hoping thereby to obtain money, worked out accordingly makeshift provisions for such instruction, although they could not satisfactorily offer it. A few real industrial schools actually equipped themselves for this work and turned out a number of graduates with such preparation. Unfortunately, however, the affair developed into a sort of battle of words, for in spite of all they said and did, the majority of the Negroes, those who did make some effort to obtain an education, did not actually receive either the industrial or classical education. Negroes attended industrial schools, took such training as was prescribed, and received their diplomas, but few of them developed adequate efficiency to be able to do what they were supposedly trained to do. The schools in which they were educated could not provide for all the experience with machinery white apprentices. I'm sorry, with machinery which white apprentices trained in factories had. Such industrial education as these Negroes received then was merely to master a technique already discarded in progressive centers. And even in less complicated operations of industry, these schools had no such facilities as to parallel the numerous processes of factories conducted on the plan of the division of labor. Except what value such training might have in the development of the mind by making practical applications of mathematics and science, then it was a failure. The majority of Negro graduates of industrial schools therefore have gone into other avenues, and too often into those for which they have had no preparation whatsoever. Some few who actually prepared for the industrial sphere by self-improvement likewise sought other occupations for the reason that Negroes were generally barred from higher pursuits by trades unions, and being able to develop captains of industry to increase the demand for persons in these lines, the Negroes have not opened up many such opportunities for themselves. During these years, too, the schools for the classical education for Negroes have not done any better. They have proceeded on the basis that every ambitious person needs a liberal education, when as a matter of fact, this does not necessarily follow. The Negro trained in the advanced phases of literature, philosophy, and politics has been unable to develop far in using his knowledge because of having to function in the lower spheres of social order. Advanced knowledge of science, mathematics, and languages, moreover, has not been much more useful except for the mental discipline because of the dearth of opportunity to apply such knowledge among common people who were largely common laborers in towns or peons on the plantation. The extent to which higher education has been successful in leading the Negro to think, which, above all, in the chief purpose of education, has merely made him more of a malcontent, when he can sense the drift of things and appreciate the impossibility of success, envisioning conditions as they really are. And I'm gonna just stop right there to comment on some of that because I feel like we still see that today. A lot
Yeah,
of
definitely.
and it's really just continuing. So like a lot of people go to college now, and when you come out of college and you can't really even find a job like that, or we have all this advanced knowledge of mathematics and science, but we don't own or run any of the type of means of productions or the
Right.
institutions that would really allow us to use this knowledge. And he said something else in here that really stood out to me. We just the Negroes operate in the lower spheres of social order.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what is my knowledge of like Greek philosophy really gonna do for me?
Right.
Not much. It's not gonna emancipate me really in any way, but it's more or less what he's saying is gonna indoctrinate me.
Exactly. That part right there made me think of like Jacob Carruthers again, and some of the other people like Amos Wilson and whatnot, when he's kind of saying like, yo, you were given, they called it psychology, but didn't put black in front of it, or didn't put white in front of it. Like you might have to go to another class to learn quote unquote black psychology, or to learn like black history or black, like, but everything regular is just regular history. So again, going back to what you're talking about with Plato and them, like, or just in that indoctrinated sense of who to follow in that social order, it's kind of just setting you up in a way, like setting up your whole thinking and kind of just putting you at that other position or that lower position. And it's kind of like, why haven't you thought of your own,
You just
of life or anything? Like who are the people that, which we personally know now, like obviously we do have thinkers like Imhotep and places in Africa that influenced those thinkers like Socrates, Plato, and them. But back then, it's kind of like who exactly was thinking outside the box to have their own reality or their own concepts to base their whole entire existence or life around. You
mhm.
know.
And
Um,
just to let people know that we are reading The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. This is my brother Zach. My name is Jalen. And we run a book club called Unlocked. And what up, Boston? I see you back in here. Appreciate you for coming back in. But we have a book club called Unlocked, and our slogan is Black Liberation Through Education. So we want to use the information in these books. You know, they say if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. So we're trying to unlock this information and use this information for our liberation and our progress going forward. So we're trying to take the things we learn in this book and put these things into action to really create change. So if y'all want to build with us, definitely follow us at Unlocked TBC on Instagram. And we actually will be starting to read a new book on this upcoming Sunday, The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. So if you're interested in that, give us a follow. And if you go into our bio, you can click our link tree and there's a club registration form. If you register on there, you'll be getting an email on Saturday with the book and the Zoom link for Sunday.
yeah, I was just grabbing black destruction of black civilization again. For those that might not know what it looks like, if you do want to tap in with us, it looks like this is by Chancellor Williams, another master teacher.
And TBC stands for the book club. That's it. We couldn't just get at Unlocked. You know, they
Yeah,
would want us. Yeah.
he said, "What's TV?" That's funny. Yeah.
Should it
Um.
stand for something different? Should it stand for something better? Let us know. We'll change it.
Right. Um. But yeah, I like that he also said Negroes have not opened up many such opportunities for themselves.
Mm.
Like, that's the part that gets me, and it makes me think of a parable in this book called "To Be African" that I read. But the synopsis of the parable is that like you got sent off to get this education, but never brought it back to your people. You kept trying to specialize and get better and better at it, but then the more you got better at it, the more comfortable you got in this other land with these other people enjoying their luxuries, but you never came back to your own. And they was like at the end of, and maybe I'd like to read it on our actual channel at some point, maybe, or something like that, because it's real short. But the synopsis was like, yo, you had the talent this whole time. You know, your family was just waiting for you to bring it back home. Like, we didn't need you to specialize in it. We just needed you to get a grasp of it because we believe in you enough to, you know, say like, yo, we know you can make something for us and for our own that's for like that works for us. It's not gonna hurt us. Not gonna be something that has to be exploited or something like that. Like, we know because it's from you. I am because we are, right? And that just made me think of that. Like, Negroes have not opened up many such opportunities for themselves. So it's like, how many people are there really out there that most likely are the black curriculum? I like that. I like
That's
that.
fire.
Oh, yo,
Thank you.
the black curriculum,
That's better.
yo. Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. That's it right there. But it makes me really think, like, how many of us really, you know, we still on that journey or that path, or we think that, yo, we not enough, or we not ready, or, you know, like, we not that person yet. But we really just had the talent, the skills, the knowledge, the will, the whatever, this whole time, and your fam just been waiting on you to bring it back.
And you know, another book that really ties this concept, what he's talking about, just you know, once you get that education, you can't not bring it back to your people. Is this book right here, "Black Skin, White Mask" by Franz Fanon, and he talks about a part where black people will leave. I think it's the Antilles, or which is in the West Indies and the Caribbean, and they would go to France to get an education, but once they went to France and got their education, they would come back and they could not relate to the people that they had left, and they really felt they really alienated those people. So with their new education, they felt like they were better than those people, that they were above that style of living, et cetera, et cetera. But when no, that's really where you were. You got an education to come back and help those people. But
Exactly.
now with your new highly educated mind, you can't even relate to those people. So
Exactly.
it's just that indoctrination.
But I like how he's not really mentioning that this is Du Bois versus Booker T, and
Oh
really
yeah,
just
you don't.
he's just saying the principles again, not judging by its adherents, but the principles of what they
Mm-hmm.
were trying to say. And it makes me think like, dang, to be, because remember, he's the second black person to graduate from Harvard. And during this time period, obviously, we already know Harvard is an indoctrination place. You know, we know, again, if you've read Stamped, you know the Puritans funded it originally. So you already know that its curriculum was set up in a certain manner to, you can't say it's not political, you know. So he goes off and gets this education. Second person. Can you imagine how he felt writing this or just experiencing this? Like, dang, like I can't relate to my people anymore because he's only there's no footnotes in this. There's no references to any other book, so he's talking from his experience this whole time. So it's like he's talking about himself as well. Like,
Yeah.
yo, it's hard for me to because I've tried to come back. I can't relate. What am I supposed to do? And he writes this book, and that's pretty. That's a challenging feeling right there. You know, and we still deal with that again. We're gonna keep saying this, but everything he's writing is still relevant today.
Mm-hmm. That's real. So I'm gonna start back up.
All right, that
On the other hand, in spite of much classical education of the Negroes, we do not find in the race a large supply of thinkers and philosophers. One excuse is that the scholarship among Negroes has been
vitiated.
vitiated by the necessity for all of them to combat segregation and fight to retain standing ground in the struggle of races. Comparatively few American Negroes have produced credible literature, and still fewer have made any large contribution to philosophy or science. They have not risen to the heights of black men farther removed from the influences of slavery and segregation. For this reason, we do not find among American Negroes a Pushkin, a Gomez, a Joffrey, a Captain, or a Dumas. Even men like Roland Hayes or Henry O. Tanner have risen to higher levels by getting out of this country to relieve themselves of our stifling traditions and recover from their education. So those are names I've never even heard before. So I would like to look that up to see who Roland Hayes and Henry O.
But
Tanner are.
yeah, I always like going down those rabbit holes. Young Steve
So
said, getting education and sharing it is key. I went to Norfolk State and came back and was able to come home and share what I learned to better my people here.
that's
That's what we supposed to
that's
do.
beautiful. Yeah.
I love that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Um, man, I looked up what vitiate means. I ain't never like I know I read the book, but I never
I
knew
didn't even know how to say
what
that
it
at first.
It said it's to spoil or impair the quality or efficiency of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So Negroes have been spoiled by the necessity. Okay, yeah. But yeah, man, it's interesting because again, like he's talking about like where's our thinkers at?
But you know, this is one thing that we do have examples of now. So back then,
Yeah, true.
I think it was a little different, but now we do have thinkers
True.
of psychology and philosophy and science. We just got to turn to them and really hear what they're saying. So, like a person in psychology, and Zach mentioned this earlier, that you should really look up is Dr. Amos Wilson.
Yeah.
Or
Oh,
another one is Dr. Marimba Ani.
oh,
Um,
facts.
that's another powerful African woman that y'all should look up.
Dang, bro. I'm trying to get a pen to work real quick because I'm trying to write this in my book. Write down the notes that we have. This is one answer now. Like it's something that's already been in the process. Dang, where did I put my book bag at? Already been in the. I'm tripping. My book bag's right next to me. But just talking about like now we do have that. So that's one thing that we can say isn't necessarily like
Facts.
we still talking about that. So let me write because I like again putting solutions into actions. You know, that's another one of our slogans. So
But one thing I will say, we might have black psychologists, black psychiatrists, black scientists, but are they really black in their thinking? You see what I'm saying? Are they really fighting for black
that's
liberation?
key. That's key. Yeah.
And what motives does what they do? Like who does that fuel? Does that fuel our empowerment or our enslavement? That's how critical we have to look at these people.
That's talking about like your Colin Powell.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know, like, just because you got this high position in the government, in the military, doesn't mean you thinking for the progression of black people and African people.
exactly.
So
So
like,
are you really African in thought, or are you a Negropean?
yeah.
Right.
So just for the ones still on here, just in African in thought, I kind of want to just share a little bit of what Jacob Carruthers was talking about in intellectual warfare.
Okay.
Um, just definitely hit what I miss or add on or whatever, but just in the sense of, um, dang, I'm tripping, and we
Good,
lied
man.
too.
You good?
What did
Take
we
your
just now?
time, man.
What did we just
We
now
all
say?
human.
Nah, what did we just now say?
Oh,
It's
I
my
was saying,
chicken.
like, are you really African in thought, or are you a Negropean?
Oh yeah. Okay. So Jacob Carruthers is basically saying like, when did we become American? And he's kind of answering it in what was he like in the middle of the book, and just saying like, go back all the way to the beginning of the first captives, the first 20 captives that came. They didn't want to be here. They're trying to escape. Like we have multiple people throughout this time where he even goes to the Revolutionary War, um, where he's like, I think he said 10,000 joined the British because they were like, yo, they gonna let us be ourselves afterwards. Like they're not gonna hold us in captivity afterwards if we come fight for the British. So that's 10,000 enslaved or captive people right there telling you or showing you with their actions like, yo, we don't want to be American. We actually want to be liberated. We want to be sovereign. Like we trying to, hey, give me a red coat. Like I'm British now. Like, you know, like show. So that's 10. That's at least 10,000 people telling you right there. Like I'm not American. Basically saying that. Then you have discussions. I think he said afterwards, after the Revolutionary War. He said, who was it? It was somebody in Paul Cuff, where I think he said Paul Cuff or Cuffy. I forgot. I don't know how to pronounce it. Was one of those people early on urging people like, yo, I'll take you on the ship back to Africa. You know, he's like, yo, we still enslaved here. Like, I'll take us back to Africa if you need to. And you guys can look this up. It's Paul, Paul. Hopefully y'all know how to spell that. Cuff is Cuffe, but I've also seen it spelled Cuffee. It's a great story and somebody that if we were really having African movies out now, like he's somebody that should have a movie. Like we shouldn't have any more movies where we're looking less than or serving or like a lot of our movies are really just for white people to look at and be like, yo, at least we're not like that anymore, but we really are. But no real heroes. So yeah, then he says it doesn't really start until about 1830 or 1836-ish, where that's when you have actual written material where an African saying like, yo, I'm an American and I'm proud, like I still deserve like this here and not to think to go back to Africa or anything. So that's kind of what we talking about. Like not necessarily in the sense like you don't have any rights to this land or anything like that. Although it's to the indigenous of this land, but when did you become American is the question.
I think that's an important process to really look at if we want to, because we got to understand that process of becoming American so we can undo that to get back to our original selves. So I think by an examination of that, we can really find, what we really need to do going forward in regaining our identity.
Right.
Because I'll say it again, I said it last time, we not American, we're not African Americans, we're Africans in America. Let's get that right. So do you want to start chapter 3 or would you like to
Yeah, I ain't gonna cap. I'm gonna have to stop at this point.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed this, I want to just first start by saying thank you to everybody who came in here. We got Alekuban Prince. I know you know what's up. Miss Cam C, thank you for coming in here. Langston. Hey yo, Armand, appreciate you for coming in here. Young Steve on the track. You provide a lot of great commentary. C Hill, you just gave us a great idea, the black curriculum. I'm actually gonna write that down. Lynn, thank you, all of y'all. Bostic, you my brother. Thank you, Chris, for being in here. Stavo, lovely, show love. Everybody, thank y'all for coming in here and reading with us and learning with us. And we're actually going to try to do this as frequently as we can throughout this month and really just share what we know. And then y'all bring what y'all know. And, we create something great. So if y'all want to stay in touch with us or if y'all want to read with us on a more connected level, I would highly recommend following our book club at Unlocked TBC on Instagram. And you can also go on our link on our Instagram bio and find us on YouTube. But starting this Sunday, we will be starting reading The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. So if you're interested in reading that with us, there, in our link tree, there's a club registration form. And on Saturday night, we will send you the PDF for the book. And we will also send you the Zoom link for Sunday. Anything you want to add? Oh, Zach?
Black liberation through education, putting solutions into action.
Big facts.
I'm gonna throw in my Abibi for Hodie.
Okay, and tell them what that means.
All right,
say it slow. Say it slow so we can get it.
It is Abibi for Hodie. It stands for African Liberation. Okay. Word. So it's from Akan or Twi. And yeah, man, it's just like part of that self-determination, like taking back some words or reclaiming some words. getting in touch with some words that aren't just English, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Like, hopefully next time, like, I won't have so many hiccups on this right here.
It's all good, man. We human, man. We human.
Right. That's facts.
Big facts. So thank y'all for coming in here showing love with us. We will we could probably do this again tomorrow, to be real. Around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Cause I know we only hit one chapter tonight. We was probably just talking a lot. But we're gonna try to get into some more of this text for y'all.
All right, fam.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all. Peace.
It is Black History Month.